Hey guys, it's Amanda. Welcome back to my channel, and do you notice something a little different? That's because I cut my hair. I'm going to be talking about all things YouTube today. As some of you may or may not know, I was partnered with a multi-channel network, which was StyleHaul, 2 years ago, and just recently I was released from the contract. It wasn't anything scandalous. I chose to be released, and it was for various reasons, which I will get into later on, but I thought that since I have 2 years of valuable YouTube network experience, I thought I would share that with you guys. I know a lot of my viewers are also small YouTubers just like me, and I think it would be really valuable for you guys to have this information, and I hope it's really helpful and useful for you guys. So let's just get started. So I'm just going to start off with some background. I started my YouTube February 2013, and I joined StyleHaul July 2013. So it was about 6 months before I joined a YouTube network. If you go to my videos at that time, I think I just got my DSLR and I just barely started using Final Cut Pro. So I was like a noob at YouTube. So when I saw the email from StyleHaul that I got accepted, obviously young and naive me got really excited because it was like, oh my god, I'm finally going somewhere. So immediately I read the contract over, and I got my dad to read the contract over too. I ended up signing it, obviously. That was actually the first time that I told my parents about YouTube, was when I got the email from StyleHaul. Yeah, I kept it from them for 6 months. So I'm just going to go into the pros and cons of being in a YouTube network. This is specifically for StyleHaul, obviously, because that's the only network that I've been in, so I can only speak from my experience. I'm going to start off with the pros because it's always good to start off with something positive. So the good thing about a YouTube network, in my opinion, was that I always had somebody to contact. That's just good to have that support, because if you're not with a YouTube network, you sort of have to deal with it by yourself, because YouTube doesn't really have very good support. The second good thing was that I always felt like I was a part of a community. When I went to LA, I went to BeautyCon and I met a bunch of people from StyleHaul, or when Toronto IMATS came around, StyleHaul had like a dinner and brunch thing, and just recently StyleHaul held an event in Toronto. So it's sort of cool that they hold events like these, because they have a lot of YouTubers to work with, and it's just like a great community. I've met a lot of great StyleHaul YouTubers. The last like positive thing that I'm going to talk about is that I think StyleHaul really helped me when I was starting off in YouTube. I think that it's a really great network for that, because they have so many smaller channels as well, so they sort of understand. StyleHaul often retweets your videos. You can post it in the StyleHaul Facebook group, so it's just a lot easier to promote your videos because you have that community. Another thing that was like sort of easy about StyleHaul is that they sort of dealt with everything. They just email you every single month with your earnings chart, and it basically shows you how much you've earned for that month. So everything is dealt with. You don't need to deal with AdSense or anything, because basically it's all done for you. So next I'm going to talk about the issues. Again, this is just my personal experience. Everybody's experience can be different. And by the way, in no means am I trying to bash on StyleHaul or at all. This is like an informative video. And generally, I didn't have an extremely negative experience with StyleHaul, but I just didn't have an overwhelmingly positive experience with StyleHaul. Since they have so many YouTubers within their network, it's hard to receive like specialized support. There's like 5,000 members within StyleHaul, so obviously it's going to be difficult to sort of get their attention. There's going to be people with a larger number of subscribers and people with a smaller number of subscribers, and I understand that they're going to be focusing on the larger channels. Their channels have a larger audience, and therefore they have more marketing and advertising opportunities. So I get it, like that's fine, and those channels worked hard for what they have, so that's great. But in terms of like smaller YouTubers, and I know that a lot of people feel this way because I talked to a lot of smaller YouTubers, it wasn't so much that you weren't getting any privileges, it's just that you got the minimum. I know that networks say that they're going to bring you like business opportunities and advertising opportunities, but I only received a couple. It would just be nice to receive a little like support so that we can grow and we can like become eventually a larger channel. So actually I don't really have another negative thing to say about Style Haul. I think everything sort of stemmed off of that last thing. It's not like I hated the people at Style Haul. I met a couple of the Style Haul people and they're all amazing people. It's just that as a network it didn't really work for me. So now I'm going to talk about advice that I have for any of you guys that are thinking about joining a network. So my first piece of advice would be to research the networks. This is probably the most important thing, and it's a thing that I wish I did when I was first starting out. There's so many networks now, so there's a lot of forums and websites talking about them, so you can just Google it. You want to know what you're getting into before you get into it. Again, I was really young when I started out, so a lot of the things I didn't even find out till I was in the network. Maybe you'll find that some networks are sort of better towards their YouTubers than others, and maybe you'll find that some networks have more members in it than others, which could greatly affect your decision. Part of doing research could be finding a YouTuber who is already in the network that you're interested in and talking to them about their experience. That's the only way you'll know what it's like to be in the network. My next piece of advice is for when you get accepted into the network and you get your contract. Make sure you read the contract very, very well. Make sure you read it and you understand every single word. I know it's hard to understand that whole legal thing. Hidden within all of those words might be something that's really, really bad, and if you really can't understand it, maybe get a lawyer. My next piece of advice is do not be afraid to ask questions. Whether this is when you're in the contract period and you don't understand something in the contract, just send them an email. And this also applies to after, if you are in a network. If you don't understand something about your earnings or your CPM or your revenue, ask them. My next piece of advice also has to do with contracts. Make sure that your contract isn't for too long of a time. I wouldn't sign a contract that's over 2 years because that is just way too long. So much can happen within 2 years, so much can happen within 1 year even. YouTube could break down, something could happen to your channel, your viewers could change, you could grow exponentially. I think that it would be best to have a shorter contract because then you can adjust accordingly. That sort of goes into my next piece of advice, which is do not underestimate yourself and don't undersell yourself. Advertising and marketing is worth so much, so you are worth a lot, and don't be afraid to ask for more, and don't be afraid to negotiate your contract and ask for better terms. My last piece of advice is don't be afraid not to be in a network. That's so ironic because this entire video is about YouTube networks. I know a ton of big YouTubers and small YouTubers who are just sticking with good old AdSense. I'm currently on AdSense right now. The good thing about AdSense is that you have access to all of your reports and all of your statistics. Okay guys, so that's it for this video. Hopefully you guys found this helpful and maybe you learned something. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. Maybe I'll do a part 2 because there's so much more that I could talk about. So comment below if you guys want that to happen, as well as comment below if you have any extra questions. I answer every single one of my comments, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye!